Today we are back with Lieutenant Colonel Jerre Hansbrough, and we're going to talk about uncertainty. So, Jerre, you want to get us started?
Sure, Michael. For those that are joining us for the first time, I've been in the Army for 20 years, leading groups of teams from 5 to 400 people with soldiers, civilians, and contractors. I've worked with Michael in the past and looking forward to having a conversation today, really focused on uncertainty. At least that's what I think it is. Are you sure, Michael? Start this off because when we had this idea, started thinking, what is uncertainty? And of course, there's known unknowns to this, but the part that I came to is uncertainty it's really an opportunity to test your resiliency, an opportunity to take action to make change. And that's the way that I try to approach it from an organizational and a personal perspective. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Well, what you're saying is interesting. Now, my point of view probably comes from that I work with organizations and leaders that are having difficulty. So I liked your definition of how uncertainty can be dealt with through resilience. The problem I run into is that the leaders that I get calls from the most are kind of stuck. They're stuck in that they should know how to do it, that they should present themselves a certain way to their people. And when you're stuck like that, resilience really isn't there. So that my job winds up being helping them to slow down, to begin to look at themselves and see how their being stuck is having a negative impact on their people. And then if they are willing to do the self-learning and get unstuck, they can then become more and more resilient. In a sense, if you are resilient, you can deal with the uncertainty that is simply a part of life, part of being a leader, part of working with teams. Yeah.
Michael, I've believed for a long time that discomfort leads toward growth if you take the opportunity to do that. And that's how you stress yourself in small ways that you can handle it better in the big ways for it. I think the first part that you try to do in the case of uncertainty, which is often linked with a crisis, is to pause. The first part is if you can just take a moment to pause, to be calm as the leader. Showing calm will bring a sense of calm to your group, your organization with it. And then taking the moment to define what is the problem. This is something strange has happened. What actually is it? Is it a problem? Is it an opportunity with it? But that moment of reflection, that moment of pause can really can calm the ripples within an organization as you approach in a positive manner.
Yeah, and that follows one of the things I tell all of my clients, that your people are following you for better or for worse. If they are seeing you as stuck, they'll be stuck. If they are seeing you as curious and when resilient, they'll be curious and resilient.
Michael, I think that word curious is really important because not just during the crisis, but before the crisis, if the leader is curious, if the leader is asking questions, that becomes more normal. So folks are happy to say, hey, they're trying to get more information, trying to understand a little bit differently. And that same approach of collect information to make a better decision. Now, information can in fact overload and make decisions too slow if you wait too long in a crisis situation. But still, approaching uncertainty with curiosity can help you to better understand your opportunities.
Curiosity is an interesting psychological phenomenon in our society. on the surface, everybody says yes. Oh, I just love being curious, etc., etc., etc. But then, what's our favorite saying about curiosity?
Oh yes, that it killed the cat.
Kill the cat. Mind your own business. Don't be nosy. If you are a leader, one of the things that many leaders have been taught is that you're supposed to already know, which also kills any curiosity. Because if you are supposed to already know, and you at least are going to pretend that you already know, curiosity is not going to be what shows up.
Very true. And just if you're not allowing the space for curiosity, how are you going to learn? Because we aren't born leaders of 500-person organizations or of 6 people. You still start someplace. Some people have more natural attributes towards leadership than others, but there's still a refinement and education piece that comes with it. And that's where the curiosity is valuable. You should be curious about yourself too. When you respond to a situation, why did you respond the way you did? Did you respond with anger straight away? Reflection later on might be valuable to understand, why did that make you angry? Is that something that is that a you problem? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But you should at least take the moment to reflect on it, and that can help you to grow to be a better leader.
I think your wisdom is showing that if our curiosity can start with being curious about ourselves, we will be way ahead of the curve. Do you have an interesting story about dealing with uncertainty or working with people that are struggling with uncertainty?
When I think about uncertainty, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of use uncertainty and opportunities together a lot. But that's a frame of mind. Now, for stories with it, I think about what causes most uncertainty with my recent experiences, work experiences. A lot of it has to do with personnel shortfalls. And when I'm short a person, if I don't have an executive assistant or a division chief or an IT person that is needed for a function, how do you cope with that shortage? I think that's an uncertainty that many of us are going through with the lack of support that we think we need. So now that you are in this situation where you should have 5 people in your, we call it the front office. So it would be me, and I had two deputies for different functions to it, an admin and an executive assistant. At one point in my last command, all of these positions were filled with temporary individuals or vacant for about 3 to 6 months. And that brought a lot of stress and uncertainty to me as a leader. So how do I manage that and still stay calm, stay organized and professional with the rest of the organization? A lot of that is about being deliberate. Where is it that I can say, hey, I need to get this done. I need some support from elsewhere. But when you pull support from elsewhere, what are the second and third order effects? These are all items that I think about. I don't know, Michael, if you have any suggestions as to how to handle uncertainty when it comes with gaps in individual positions.
Well, what comes to my mind is that there is a large set of the population that want things to be stable and standard and not shift. But the truth is, things are always shifting. Now, in this day and age, things are certainly shifting much more than they used to. It's like I used to do courses in management as if it was a standard thing. But I won't do a course in management anymore. I will do programs in leadership where the best place for a leader to learn about how to be a leader is from his or her people. because then they have to deal right then and there with the uncertainty of all of the changes that are going on, and can figure out the best way that they can do it. And they do that collectively. I find that that really works very, very well. Not just very well, I think that is the way that it has to be dealt with. That if a team is going to be a solid team, working with that team as a collective is as important as working with each individual.
Michael, I agree completely with that. Just the collaboration aspect is what's going to make the uncertainty more palatable. Because we talked about the importance of curiosity to it, but curiosity requires answers. And sometimes you can get facts back, which is great. Sometimes you have to make an assumption to continue to go forward with it. And as you're making these assumptions, you want to rely on the parts of your team that have the greatest expertise, that can make the most realistic and reasonable assumptions with it. And that's where you can rely on their expertise and able to trust each other for your collaboration, which will take some of the uncertainty out of whatever the change is that's affecting your mental state, your organizational state.
Super. Okay. Well, let's talk about a different kind of uncertainty. Let's talk about an employee whose performance is uncertain. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're mediocre, sometimes they're bad, and you don't know what you're going to get from day to day. What do you do with that? Well, I'll just say before you start that this is an issue that a lot of leaders come to me with. Yeah, so I'm really curious your thoughts about this.
Well, Michael, a lot of it has to do with how long you've had a relationship with the employee, how long he or she has been in the position. But the place I would start with is having a conversation with that employee, discussing, hey, what are your roles and responsibilities within the organization or within the team? They're likely defined at some place through either a position description or a job description to it, but there's what the words say and then what you do. If this is a direct report to me, I'll be more engaged, and I would hopefully have a better idea of what the person should be doing. But now this is where I'll be asking questions along the lines of, what can I do to support your goals within the organization? What is it that you need from others to be successful? Or tell me about what's causing challenges in your performance. I think having a compassionate discussion where you are working together because the desire is for the employee to perform well. Few people, from my perspective, will come into work one day and say, you know what, I feel like I'm going to suck today. Let's just make it a really bad day. I'm going to make it difficult for everyone because that's what I want to be known for, is not being good at my job. And if you treat people that way, it could turn that direction where I'm here just to be a disruptor and make things difficult for others and wait my time out. But if you show that I want you to grow, I want you to be eligible for a promotion, for awards and for other activities, that can help with the discussion and the assessment of what's causing the underperformance.
It is so refreshing for me to talk to a leader that knows what they're doing. And I get called into situations of leaders who, in their frame of mind, well, he's been with me for 35 years and this and that and the other. And I say, well, are the standards you want your people to meet? And often they don't have a lot of clarity about that. One of the responses that I get is, well, I just need to move this person over to a different department. So that's really, so you're just going to ship your problem over to somebody else. Because leaders won't do what you're saying, which is you need to support your people and hold them accountable for meeting the standards that you need them to meet to get the work done.
The accountability part is something that I've maybe not struggled, but that I've looked at of what does accountability mean, and that's been one of the challenges is discussing that because everybody says I want to hold everyone accountable, and typically what I understand from others see accountability means discipline or punishment. That's exactly what it's tied to. So you don't do something, therefore you're punished. But accountability is not directly connected to punishment. Accountability is response to an action, because you can have accountability, which is you did very well at this. I now need to put you on this team here to move forward. I'm going to recognize you or this team with an award for doing well. That's a type of accountability. Accountability is, hey, you don't have the tools you need to be successful. Let's find those tools for you. That is an accountability mechanism. And there's also the punitive pieces to it, and those are the most uncomfortable to go through, and often the slowest. If you are going to go the route that results in termination or demotion of an employee, that's difficult part because, as I talked about earlier, nobody goes to work to fail.
You know, accountability is essentially about consequences. And following what you just said, that consequences need to be positive for those who are doing the job the way you want them to. And then the consequences need to be negative, including support when they're not doing it as well as you would like them to. So yeah, understanding the consequences is a two-edged sword. And what you said, that is very important, that if you go with the positive consequences first, you often don't need the negative consequences. That the leaders that focus on negative consequences tend to need them more than the leaders who focus more on positive consequences.
And tying that back to uncertainty to it, it's helping to define roles, responsibilities, and understanding how you as a leader are going to react to different situations. And by having a known that a leader is going to react in an empathetic yet actionable way that's fair or appropriate, that they're trying to move the ball forward. We're not here to place blame specifically on somebody. We're here to identify what are the external pieces that could be affecting it.
I think you're saying something very important there, that if a leader is consistent, that helps his or her people to be more resilient. It's the inconsistent leader that causes inconsistency in their people.
I completely agree, and I appreciate the reframing. That's a better way to say it. The way that I see it is, I've seen plenty of leaders. It's how does a leader receive the bad news? And if someone is going to fly off and literally kill the messenger, that's not good to be the messenger, and you get into an information bias. So as the leader, the higher you get up from the actual on-the-ground problem, you get filters that go through. And you'll have individuals or groups that will not want the leader to know the whole story, or because they either don't want to get blamed for something, they don't see it as worth the time to it, whatever the reason. But there's a filtering mechanism to it. If you respond in an irrational, hasty manner, not taking that breath and saying, what can you do about it? Or what else is there? Or is that the sure problem? What are the timelines? Asking the curious questions to better understand the problem, again, in a level manner, that's going to reduce people's desire or timeliness in reporting an issue of uncertainty to you.
So in a sense, we've kind of come full circle. That as the leader can manage themselves well with a sense of resilience, with a sense of curiosity, with a sense of compassion, that they will find that their team and their individuals will be resilient as well. Final thoughts about resilience before we close this video.
Michael, I think the last part that I want to share is when you come to uncertainty, figuring out what's within your world, your sphere of influence that you can control or influence to move forward. And if it's something that you can't control and you can't influence, maybe you shouldn't be so worried about it right now. And there's a filter piece to that. One of the things that I will talk about with my wife is when something comes up and I'll tell her, you know what, that's tomorrow's Jerry's problem, because I can't do anything about that one right now. I'm going to cause additional stress on myself, whereas waiting it out is sometimes the best way to go.
Beautiful. So that's the serenity prayer. To change the things you can change, to accept the things you can't, and to have the wisdom to know the difference. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again.